You know how some days are good, just fine in the shop, but other days are great, and this is one of those great days for me, and I think it's mostly due to my new 2930 rear handle Milwaukee saw. We're going to look at all the finer points on this and weigh it with and without the battery, but first let's make some test cuts. Then I'll put the little plug in the side here and we'll see how the dust collection performs that way. Yeah, that way it just seems like it throws the dust down versus with the chute on, it discharges it off to the side, so take your pick on that. Now you can get the tool only or the kit that includes this nice oversized storage bag, a blade, more on that in a minute, as well as a battery and charger, and the battery that it'll come with is the HD 12.0. Now the battery size and shape on this one I think matter a little bit more than most tools just because it has to fit inside a cavity in the top of the saw. But also because it's a high output tool, so you do need quite a bit of juice from your battery, not unlike their M18 cordless router, which was actually my first on this red line of batteries. But let's have a look how that battery goes in and see if there's other sizes that can fit as well. Again, this is the HD 12.0 and it pretty much fills the space in that cavity. So that's the battery it'll come with. It'll give you plenty of juice, but also it's just a good fit for the overall size and weight of this tool. But I wanted to see if you could fit a smaller battery in there if you wanted to pick up a tool only, for instance, and you only had, say, an XC 6.0. There's a little bit of vacant space in there, but actually it lightens the tool up a little bit, so that may be a good option. Speaking of weight, let's see what this comes in at. It really reminds me of the size and the shape of the old worm drive saws, so those usually came in about 15 pounds, plus you were packing the cord around, but let's see where we're at with the bare tool. Okay, it looks like 8 pounds 4 ounces with tool only. And then with the HD 12.0, let's see what that comes in at. Looks like about 11 pounds 10 ounces. But what I really wondered is if we swap that over for the XC 6.0, what kind of weight would that save us? And that comes in at 10 pounds 10 ounces, so about a pound lighter with that smaller battery. And then my general disclaimer about powerful cordless tools, you know, if you only have a cordless drill driver, you'd have to work pretty hard to hurt yourself with that. But once you jump up to these high output tools like a router or a circular saw, boy, you definitely want to treat it like it's a corded tool plugged in anytime that battery is in place. So pop the battery out for blade and bit changes and you'll be in good shape. And it's not even a brand thing, it's more just the class of tool that you're dealing with. Once you're in this high output class, you definitely want to follow that rule. And then on that blade, you know, it's got in bold print, thick kerf. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty thin blade to be labeled thick kerf. But I decided to measure it and it's 5/64. So, you know, I guess you have to never own a table saw to consider this thick kerf. But anyway, that's what we're calling it. So we'll drop that in. And then the outer flange washer goes on, and like most circular saws, it's reverse thread on the fastener. There's an arbor lock in there, so just hold that with one hand and you can tighten it up with the included wrench. And like most Milwaukee tools, this one's got a nice onboard storage for the wrench. There's even a little detent in there you can feel, so it clicks in nicely, but it's easy to grab. Now I'll go over all the specs on this, including a nice safety feature that they've added, but first let's start with what everyone wants to know. How deep can it cut at various angles? And that's like the how much you bench question, you know, in general. It's how deep can a circular saw cut? And the answer is at 90 degrees, it'll cut 2 5/8 inch, or at 45, 2 1/16. So that's pretty good for a 7 1/4 inch saw. On the nose, you have the lock for your angle, and that can actually go all the way to 53 degrees if you want it to, so pretty good range of adjustment there. Now, of course, this one has a brushless motor with a blade brake, so it spins down very quickly. But if you've never owned a Milwaukee saw, you get used to some nice features like little detents on the blade depths there, so you can easily tell at a glance where you're at and lock it in. Then over on this side, you've got your rafter hook there. Take it or leave it if you like that sort of thing, but it's really not in the way when it flips up, so that's pretty decent. There is a dust chute on this side that pivots, so you can kind of choose the direction that goes, but there's no dust bag that comes with it. I'm going to pull out my track saw and see if the dust bag happens to fit on that, but it also comes with a little plug and a small Allen wrench in case you want to remove that and just block it off. We'll pull that dust bag off and see if it happens to fit by some miracle, but no, looks like it's a slightly different size. So dust chute primarily over there unless you want to hook it up to a dust extractor. And then that safety feature that I really like and I wish all circular saws had is a trigger lock. So battery's in, I pull the trigger, nothing happens until I release that lock. Now it doesn't go back to a locked position, but it's just if you want to lock it off, if you're going to set it down for a minute, that's great to have. Not that that would be a substitute for pulling the battery out when you change blades, but here you can get an idea of just how quickly the blade stops when you release the trigger. Boom, it's just a second or two. There's even a pretty bright little LED light in there. Nice. Usually I find on a new saw I need to adjust the 90-degree position, but this one actually looks spot on. Good. So if you're already on the red line of cordless tools, I'd say this 2930 is a good one. You can get it in the 2930-20 is the bare tool, or you can get it in the 2930-21 HD, which includes the high output battery and charger. So either way, it can be a good one for heavy duty crosscuts and framing work. So just reminds me of those old worm drive saws, but a little bit less weight and no cord to drag around. So definitely worth looking at. I'll drop a link down in the description box if you want to check it out a little further.